Hi everyone, I'm Jay, the founder of Freedom Card. Freedom Card is a project connecting business and philanthropy with fostering merchants and consumer interaction. We try to have an outcome with one card triple win, which is making donation to Hong Kong humanitarian organization and Ukrainian Volunteer Army. Today, I'm so glad to invite Mr. Harley and Steve from Ukrainian Volunteer Army to have an interview with us about current status of the war and the army. Harley is well known as a sapper to support Ukraine in the front line. Let's start our interview. Hi, Harley. Nice to meet you here.
Hi.
Yeah,
nice
just
to
want
meet
to have some question. And first of all, may I know why do you want to join the Ukrainian Volunteer Army? And then how long is the period you are serving?
Yeah, so I was living in between the UK and Ukraine 5 years now. Yeah, so
Five
this
years.
will be my fifth year. Obviously, I was working in between both countries, and then the full-scale invasion broke out, which I volunteered in Ukraine as a logistical role to begin with.
Okay.
Humanitarian, but on the military side.
Okay.
So I was doing logistics for ZESU, which is the Armed Forces of Ukraine, to begin with, and then in 2023, I had a vision to tackle the landmine crisis in Ukraine, and then I started working with Ukraine Volunteer Army. The reason why I chose them is because the guys, they share the same passion, spirit that I share. After working with quite a lot of units around Ukraine, I found that UDAR was the one that I fitted well with, just because we're very passionate. We don't believe in taking money for defending Ukraine, and we're quite patriotic. I'm quite patriotic, and I do care about obviously my adopted homeland, because it's home to me as well, just as much as the UK is.
Okay.
So I have now been with them since June 2023. Before that, I was doing some logistics with hospitalers, which also falls under Ukraine Volunteer Army as well. Yeah, but officially with UDAR since June 2023, and yeah, the rest is history, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a quick change because it's quite different, supporting with logistics, but you change to removing the main lines and then repairing the bridge, something like it's quite different, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a bit of an engineering background, so when I wanted to obviously start removing the landmines, I was working with an explosive disposal team on a logistic role for some time before, and then I went to Kosovo and Montenegro to learn to be a sapper, basically.
Okay.
I did the basics at school in the Balkans, but I learned a lot more in Ukraine working on the real stuff.
Yes, I think it's super practical.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Second question. Just want to know more about your main job duties. Maybe you have mentioned some, but you can say more. And then, what is the most, I think, profound image or experience during your army journey when you are doing some mission or any cooperation with any party?
Yeah. So my main job now, obviously, I remove landmines. We removed last year 8,500 landmines in 6 months.
8,000.
Yeah.
8,000.
Over 5,000 munitions we also gave back to the army as well.
So it's just in 6 months, but you have 8,000. Right?
Yeah. That's a lot. It's probably the most anybody's ever done in Ukraine. I don't actually know any team that even come close, to be honest. So we're doing well, but a lot of the work we was doing was clearing out the old Russian positions, the ones that they abandoned, clearing the booby traps, and also the munitions that they left behind. We also give them to the army so they can use again.
Yeah.
But in terms of work and stuff, my most challenging times were probably in the logistics. I mean, we was working under heavy fire, I've worked every single front in Ukraine, from Kiev, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, Donbass, Zaporizhia, and now Kherson. So I've kind of done the whole circle, But now I predominantly serve in the south of Ukraine, in Kherson. That's where I'm based now. So out of Mykolaiv,
Okay.
but we work in Kherson. But I spent my most challenging times, I think, was around Avdiivka. I spent 12 months serving around Avdiivka in a logistical role
Okay.
for one of the rifle brigades, bringing in the kit and, obviously the threat of drones and
Yeah.
this narrative that people have that Russia's a very poor army isn't true. I mean, they're a big army, and
Yeah.
you can't take any chances, or there is no second chances. You've got to get it right. Everything that you do has got to be right in
Yeah.
my job.
Yeah, I understand.
There's no room for error.
If the muscle hit your car, then just you
Yeah,
have to say goodbye, right?
yeah. There's plenty of times I've had to hide under trees, and just because of the threat of drones. Really, I think that's just modern day warfare, and it's a scary time. And it's only getting worse. I think eventually in the future it's just going to be drone warfare
Yeah.
across the world. I think a lot of what's going on today is just paving the way of how future warfare is going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, understand. I think we have to still working hard on this issue. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
So the next question, for example, like just as a simple people, as a civilian, apart from fighting an information war on social media, what kind of contribution can we make to this war, do you think?
Yeah, I think from a Ukrainian's point of view is to show support for them and how and taking action. It's not just about words on the internet. It's about people taking action and standing up to tyranny, which is what this is. It's we've got a dictator in Russia and other dictators across the world, which I'm sure we'll move on to. But it's about everybody coming together and showing that we can't just sit still and let this happen, because there will be no peace in Europe and no peace in the world if we allow this to happen. So I think obviously from a point of view, like a civilian's point of view, I mean, people have been donating, people have been showing support, but for me, I feel like it needs to be more. There needs to be more actions rather than words. From my point of view, as somebody who works on the ground in Ukraine, you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's important for Ukraine to not feel alone anymore, because war fatigue is setting in, and lives are being lost at the cost of lives. I mean, there's children, adults, people losing their homes, their lives, and that's not going to stop unless we do something about it, which is what our grandparents did back in the World War, wasn't it?
Okay.
We stood up to this kind of evil. So that's what I think. I think more action, less words. Yeah, but keep sharing the news. Keep sharing the news. Be proactive about the effort.
So what does Ukraine need most at this moment, do you think, to defend itself or even win the war?
Yeah, Ukraine needs weapons. That's all they really need. I mean, they've never really asked for anything else other than the weapons to defend themselves, and for the West to adhere to the agreement that was made all them years ago, and the security guarantees that we guaranteed them. So weapons they need, and more support from the public. I feel like the war is just like we just talked about. War fatigue has set in, and we need to try and bring that support back. And I think Ukraine needs more success stories. That's one thing I always say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of doom and gloom on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone's sharing all the bad things, but let's talk more about the good things that are going on and the good work that's going on, because there's a lot of good people, a lot of good volunteers, doing good things, not just in Ukraine, but also away across Europe and across the world.
Yeah.
So more weapons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's the key point because
Yeah.
the last time we have met in the rally, and then Mr. Braden of Ukrainian frontline medics,
Yeah.
he's talking about one key point, just like you. Guns is the best medicine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's.
Preventative medicine. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
they call
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I think we can
Thermal
make sure.
scopes, drones.
Yeah, that's
Guns.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question: has any of your teammates or friends become prisoners of Russia? If yes, any message you want to tell them?
Yeah. I have. Yeah. So I have got friends that have been prisoners of Russia, but they are now released.
Okay, release already, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they're out. They're doing all right in life, and getting better again. But also, my team lived under Russian occupation. My whole team.
Okay.
Yeah, and they were starved and everything, from Russian occupation. I mean, some of them, one of the guys, his brother went to get some groceries, and he's never come back.
Okay.
No one's ever seen him again.
Oh, it's just disappear, you mean?
Just disappeared.
It's just cannot connect.
Yeah, this is whilst living under Russian occupation.
Okay.
So they think he may have been arrested and then they just either killed or, I work in areas where there has been a lot of genocide and stuff, There's a lot of bodies and stuff that we find in the minefield, sometimes Russian bodies,
Okay.
that, no one knows who these people are. So for anybody who's, in captivity, yeah, better days will come, and the more we support Ukraine, and the faster, we can get a solution, a positive solution out of the war, then the faster these guys can come home.
Yeah.
There's many Ukrainian guys, not just living, or not just imprisoned in Russia, but also living in occupied territory.
Yeah.
They're living under occupation,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be forever. Just hang on.
Yeah.
And hopefully the West will see some sense and give Ukraine what it needs. And again, going back to the support again from everybody, Yeah.
Yes, understand. Yeah. Hope we can work out more.
Yeah, because the passion's still there, Everybody's still
fighting for
morale's still high, No one's going to give up.
Yeah.
No one's going to surrender. And look how quick Ukraine took Kharkiv back. Look how quick they took Kherson back. And that can happen again with the right weaponry, Russia retreated. Look how quick the Free Russia Legion have gone into Belgorod and Kursk and all them settlements and just took it because they've had the right support. This isn't a hard war to win, really. It's going to cost lives. It always will cost lives, but it doesn't have to be difficult if the right support is in place. Because everything is there and everyone's willing to fight.
Yeah. Because some people believe that Putin's invasion of Ukraine actually began when Russia attacked Georgia in 2008 and annexed Crimea in 2014. Do you agree with this statement, and can you share your opinion?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I mean, that Ukraine was always a neutral country up until 2014. Yeah. All this, we may see and hear Russian propaganda of Ukraine wanted to join NATO, America was pushing into Russia's borders and things like that. Now, the Ukraine joining NATO didn't start up until Russia invaded Crimea. Before that, Ukraine just wanted to join the EU. Yeah, not NATO. Two different things.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, so I believe that Russia forced Ukraine into wanting to join NATO. I mean, by invading Crimea and taking Crimea from them. Russia's forced every single Baltic state who's part of NATO, every single ex-Soviet state who's part of NATO into joining NATO. Yeah? What other choice have they got? Because it gives them security guarantees from Russia invading, as we've seen. So I do believe that the war started when they invaded Georgia. There's a lot of Georgians now fighting in Ukraine.
I know. I know.
It's huge. You've got the Georgian Legion, which is a whole big legion which has been fighting for many years. Mamuka and his men. So yeah, and it's never going to end until we put a stop to it. You know, again, it just goes back again to the support, and the more we let Putin get away with it, the more he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And where's next? Probably Moldova or Lithuania or Latvia. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, but it's not going to end.
Yeah, understand. As media reports, so different kind of countries are discovered that, such like China, Iran, Hungary, and then seems like they are sending the equipment, supporting the Russia behind the scenes. So nobody know, but of course the media report, and we know when they start to know, and then the Russia-Ukraine war seems gradually turning into a proxy war, and then some world states seems are spreading the flames of the war. And then what price do you think the world should prepare to pay to face the consequence?
Well, I mean, end of the day, it's the people's fight against tyranny again. You look at them states that are involved; they're all run by dictators. All dictators stick together, you know. And it's up to us in the free world, you could say, in the Western world, to stand up to tyranny. Because, like I said before, is that if one dictator does it and gets away with it, then the other dictators smell blood. Yeah, and then they will follow suit.
Yeah.
So it's important that we nip it in the bud and stop it as early as possible, you know, and show these nations that it's not going to happen again, you know.
Yeah.
The world's a bad place at the minute, you know, and there's a lot of death, a lot of wars. I'm not going to say that the West is completely innocent, because I think that's a wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
But we've got to be morally right in our decisions and what we think's right, and we can't let dictators rule the world.
Yeah,
you know.
I can say just like cancer, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's just like
yeah,
cancer.
yeah,
If you cut off the cancer with the negative elements, then they will just spread out into the whole body, and then you will die.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's just like for example, ISIS. You know, ISIS, when they was ruling across the Middle East, and there was, you know, we all came down hard on ISIS. I know, obviously, there's just been an attack in Russia, which is all a bit debatable at the minute. I think it's too early to say who's involved and whatnot. But with ISIS, what did we do? We went in and we sorted the mess out, and that, you know, that got people in Syria and Iraq, you know, some freedom back.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's not fully there yet. It's still a mess, but it's better than it was.
Yep.
And we need to do that again. And Russia shouldn't be treated any different than what ISIS was treated like, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think stay together, we still have a chance to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for me. In this world, you know, Hong Kong, Ukraine, Xinjiang, Tibet, etc. are all oppressed by totalitarian regimes. So they're either facing genocide or preparing to be attacked. So do you have any message you would like to speak to this group of people? And do you think they can do something together to fight back?
I think for the ordinary man, it's pretty much out their hands. But be prepared, you know? Always be prepared. One thing about Ukraine is that when I was living in Ukraine, in the run-up to the war, no one was prepared, because no one actually thought it would happen.
Okay.
It was the same message with everybody. It won't happen. No, it'll never happen. But it happened.
Yeah.
And what I would say to obviously these people is just be prepared. Have money in place, or have some equipment in place, and be ready for a guerrilla war.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what it will be. And the enemy fears the guerrilla war the most. Yeah, any enemy will fear the guerrilla war the most, and that's one thing that Uda always say, is that, you know, it's the biggest fear for any oppressive nation. It's somebody fighting back, not somebody who's going to roll over. You know, because they wasn't prepared. So, in my opinion, just be prepared, because things are happening across the world, and they're only happening because we're letting it happen. Yeah. If we don't let it happen and we show support for Ukraine and be ourselves prepared for what might happen,
Yeah.
then that's the best chance that we've got.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard. Just found some quite similar with our Hong Kong people talking a few years before. We call it flock theory. When you are holding a big hot water, if you put a flock inside, it would definitely jump out, right?
Yeah.
But this kind of I can say evil states. Yeah, this is what we describe in Hong Kong community. So they are just cooking the flock with warm water.
Yeah.
Just keep it heating, but with very slowly.
Yeah.
The flock inside, they didn't feel that they're being cooked.
Yeah.
But when it get the time done, we'll be there, and then he will die. Just like I think it's just like you mentioned about everybody get prepared.
Yeah.
Just the war is just maybe just the next step, maybe just the next day.
Yeah. Well, look at Ukraine now. You've got ordinary people, men, women, going to train now, military training, even like airsoft and just tactical training on a weekend. During the week, they work normal jobs, teachers, engineers, whatever, bus drivers. But the weekend, the training, because the training for what might happen if they can't stop Russia in the east and Russia keep advancing towards Kiev or wherever it is whatever the goal is. These people will be prepared, and they give Ukraine the best chance that they've got. Now, I do feel like everybody should do this, especially in the oppressed nations. Go out, get the equipment that you might need to fight. If you're willing to fight, then buy the equipment, keep it in the storeroom. Because one day it's coming.
Yeah.
Unless we
Keep it, unless
unless we stop the dictatorships. Yeah. So that's my advice, and I think it's the best advice because. That's the best chance that you're going to give your nation if that's what you want to fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no worries.
So, Steve, do you have any question you want to ask Harley?
No, but what I will echo is Ukraine needs the tools to do the job, to finish the job.
Yeah.
They've got to get the weapons, the munitions. They've got to be delivered faster and more efficiently.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, I was speaking to a high-ranking person in government, and he said there is direct pressure being applied to weapon manufacturers, but also to other countries, especially America.
Okay.
There is leverage being applied to get things moving faster.
Okay.
To get the weapons to Ukraine so they can finish the job that they started.
Yeah, I hope we can still keep working more with more community. I mean, with different kind of people, just like I mentioned, we can work out something together, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we'll fight back.
Yeah, and one thing as well is that obviously to show your donors on your channel and everybody who watches at home, we will be sending videos of where the donations go. It's important for people to see where the money's going and how it's being used. So we will obviously implement that because I go back to Ukraine in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And I will be sending over some footage to you guys as well.
Yeah.
Of our work, and I've also got some footage you can use anyway today. But yeah, it's important that people get to see that because that's how we generate more support is by just being transparent and showing everybody what we're doing and we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, understand. So my question finished, but just if you have any message I didn't cover in my question, feel free to let people know.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, more than anything. So thank you for everybody who supports Ukraine, supports Hong Kong, supports the fight against fascism and tyranny. It means a lot to us guys who work on the ground, and it saves lives. Donations save lives, as we see throughout the internet when it comes to the war, and anybody who follows the war, they can see, how much of a difference the support makes to everybody out there. It really does. So just keep supporting Ukraine and keep supporting the oppressed nations. Yeah, and that's the final message, really. I mean, yeah. And if anybody wants to go to war,
just give me a ring, right?
Give me a ring.
Yeah, I think so. How somehow Hong Kong people they joined the Ukrainian Volunteer Army, but in another way. Not in your team, but him.
Yeah. So I think for us, our mission this year is the same thing: is to remove landmines. We're training more sappers. So more
Yeah.
people, over 1,000 civilians have now died from landmines.
Okay.
So the amount of area that's covered with landmines is the equivalent to the size of the whole of England and Wales. So 30% of Ukraine is covered in landmines. So our goal this year is more training, less casualties, and is to get as many of these landmines out the ground as possible. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I'm going to be instructing other guys and teaching how we can do that.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today
No
and
worries.
lots of inspiring insights. And then let's work hard to fight for freedom
Absolutely.
and get our victory. So glory to Hong Kong, glory to Ukraine.